Hey guys, UFC Salt Lake City, Rodriguez versus Caceres. Sorry for the late video. You guys have almost no time to watch it, but I promise I'll be better about the next two events coming up, UFC 202 and the Fox event. I will get those videos out this weekend, give you guys some time, a couple weeks to watch those. So again, I'm sorry, got caught up in other things, but I am getting this out there before the event. I also haven't updated you guys in a while on my UFC Pick'em rating. I haven't done that since before International Fight Week. I don't want to take time out of this video to do it, so I'll probably do a separate video just showing you my current ranking and all of my picks for all of those previous events, just to get the evidence out there. This event, the main event, I think is entertaining. It should be really fun. I don't mind it for a fight night. I love Rodriguez. I think he's a super talent. And even scattered throughout the rest of the card, there's some really great matchups that I'm really looking forward to. But you guys know me. I wish there wasn't an event, just for this. I'd rather see those matchups that I'm interested in on another card. And 3 events in August, I'm just really getting burned out at this point, and I think there's going to be 5 straight weeks of UFC events between August and September. It's just way too much, and they shouldn't have an event for this, I think, or that's what I would like to see. But I still think there's some really good matchups on the card. Okay, Fight Pass prelim card. At heavyweight, Chase Sherman versus Justin Ledet, 2 newcomers. Skipping right over it. At featherweight, Cub Swanson versus Tatsuya Kawijiri. I have to go with Swanson here, and I really think I think it's pretty unlikely that Kawijiri wins this fight. If he can manage to get Swanson down and do that over and over again for 3 rounds, he could win a decision. Swanson has struggled there, here and there in certain fights throughout his career. Submitted by Ricardo Lamas, and Dennis Seaver was able to control him early for a bit in the Edgar fight. But Kawajiri's, he's not, even on the ground, he's not really dangerous. Jason Knight in his debut fight was able to give Kawijiri a lot of trouble off of his back. So I think that's pretty unlikely that Kawijiri can out-grapple him for 3 rounds. And then on the feet, Swanson should just have a big advantage. Kawijiri got dropped right away against Clay Guida and brawled with him, but if he wasn't skilled enough on the feet to outstrike Clay Guida in a brawl, I don't see him having any success against Swanson. And Swanson in his last fight against Hakrin Diaz looked a lot more composed and calculated, really picking his shots better. So I think either a patient, technical Swanson or the Swanson of old that really goes for the kill. I think either one of those versions of him gets past Kawijiri, who really hasn't had any meaningful wins. Maybe the Seaver fight, but I didn't even think he won that one. And then his other wins, Sean Soriano, and that's all that comes to mind right now. So I'm definitely taking Swanson. I think he wins a decision. All right, on to the FS1 card at featherweight, Teruto Ishihara versus Horacio Gutierrez. I like this matchup. Ishihara, I think everyone's really going to rush to pick him here. and deservedly so. He has had the better performances, at least. Well, in the UFC, Gutierrez has only had had the fight against Barzola, the Tough Latin America finale fight, where he got dominantly out wrestled, and Ishihara fought to a draw against what was the guy's name? I can't remember, but his last fight had a really impressive quick finish of American tough contestant Julian Erosa. Has kind of an unorthodox striking style. Obviously showed power in his last fight. But I don't think Gutierrez should be overlooked here. And I'm actually picking him here. This guy fights hard. And he had a knockout win over Polo Reyes on Tough. And we've seen Polo Reyes. He's a capable fighter, at least among the lower ranks of the UFC in his division, and Gutierrez got a real dominant knockout win over him. I don't think Ishihara has the grappling or the wrestling to dominate Gutierrez the way that Barzola did, and Gutierrez is real aggressive. Really looks for the knockout. And that's very different from Julian Erosa and the Japanese fighter that Ishihara fought to a draw with. I can't remember the guy's name again, but I like Gutierrez here. I think it's a step up in competition from the guys Ishihara has beaten. I think just that more aggressive, consistent pressure attack. I think that's going to give Ishihara some problems that he hasn't faced before in the UFC. So I like Gutierrez to get this done. Maybe by finish. I don't know, but I am taking him here. Again, I think he does deserve to be the underdog, but I think Ishihara's kind of been built up a little bit by the level of his competition. And Gutierrez does fight really hard and has big power, so I'm going to go with Gutierrez here. All right, lightweight David Taymor versus newcomer Jason Novelli. So we're going to skip it, but Taymor, I thought, obviously had a great win last time against Martin Swanson. A really clean, smooth kickboxer, and showed finishing ability in that fight. And on Tough, I thought he had a good performance. It was a decision win. I can't remember against who. I think, well, obviously one of the American fighters, but then he fought, I think it was Marcin Roshek, and I thought he really looked kind of limited in that fight when he was forced to mix it up more with the fight on the mat and on the feet. I didn't think he looked too good in that fight, but against Swanson, that kickboxing really shined. So I would expect him to build on that, but I don't know Novelli, so we have to move past it. At heavyweight, Victor Pesta versus Marcin Tybura. This is a fight where I don't really feel like making a pick. Because I don't feel like especially Tybura, know him too well. But both guys, I'm going to make a pick. Both guys have fought in the UFC before. And I'm going to take Pesta. He's at least shown the ability to hit takedowns. And against decent competition, Ruslan Magomedov, who went on to beat Sean Jordan, Pesta had a bit of success against him. And against Derek Lewis, won the first round pretty soundly before falling apart. So I don't think Pesta, I don't think he is. I don't know. He falls apart like in the Derek Lewis fight and also in the Magomedov fight. Can't really hang on the feet as the fight goes on. I don't expect him to do well against higher level competition, but Tybura getting outstruck by Tim Johnson for 3 rounds. to me, that wasn't really impressive. So I'm going to take Pesta with the wrestling. I'll say he gets it done. But again, I really don't have a good read on Tybura, so I don't feel comfortable about that one really at all. All right, at welterweight, Court McGee versus Dominique Steele. This is a really good matchup, and initially I was really favoring Steele in this fight, but the more I thought about it, the more I'm leaning McGee now. McGee athletically, I don't really know where he is. I thought he looked pretty bad in his return fight against Marcio Alexandre Jr. Looked slow, wasn't able to get the takedowns easily. I was getting outstruck at distance. But then in his last fight against Santiago Ponzinibbio, got off to a really good start. He was able to beat him to the punch. He was landing his shots, and I think that more kind of high volume, consistent striking game, I think that'll give him an advantage on the feet against Steele here, who is very powerful, and McGee did prove to not be durable against Ponzinibbio. Steele, who's a very strong, very powerful guy, I think he could definitely knock out McGee, but like I was saying, McGee's more high volume, consistent striking. I think that's going to give him an edge on the feet here against Steele. And unlike Ponzinibbio, I don't think Steele's the kind of guy who has a sound fundamental boxing game, not really a combination striker who's suddenly going to settle into his rhythm and turn things around on the feet. It's much more of a brawler, very wild, and again, because I don't really trust McGee's athleticism at this point, I think he could grind him out. I could see him just being stronger in the clinch, hitting the takedowns, really just manhandling McGee. It was a very competitive fight, but had success in those areas against Danny Roberts in his last fight, and showed big power in the Dong Hyun Kim fight. But also Court McGee, he's a good scrambler. Thinking back to his fight with Ryan LaFleur, that was a super close fight that he could have easily won. He's a good scrambler, still a good wrestler. I think technically he might be a little better wrestler, grappler than Steele. And also, this guy won a decision going toe-to-toe with Robert Whittaker, and that was a young Whittaker, definitely not the guy he is now, but still, if I compare a guy like that to Steele, who's very wild, very unrefined, and just going out there to brawl, I think McGee still, he's more than a brawler, and if Steele's just going to look to brawl with him, I think McGee has enough in his enough kind of volume and consistency in a striking game to get past a brawler and to figure out that style. So I'm going to take Court McGee to win a decision. Again, he's an old guy at this point, hasn't been active, had just a couple fights ago, came back from a long layoff. I could see Steele just creaming him when they tie up in the clinch and on the ground and really grinding him out. But I'm going to fall back on McGee's his experience, his veteran savvy. I think he will get the win. All right, on to the main card at women's strawweight. Marina Morosh versus Danielle Taylor. Another one we're going to have to skip over because Taylor is a debuting fighter. I don't know her. Morosh, kind kind of an inconsistent fighter. Had the very impressive quick finish over Joanne Calderwood. Did not look so good against Latorno. Her technical striking game, I think, got exposed in that fight. And then looked okay against Christina Stanciu. Showed off some wrestling and grappling in that fight, but Stanciu just getting ran over by Courtney Sanchez in her last fight. In hindsight, I don't know if that win really meant anything for Morosh. So I think she has some ability, but I'm very skeptical about her. So I don't know what to expect. At middleweight, Trevor Smith versus Joe Gigliotti. Again, newcomer. Trevor Smith has wrestling ability, and that's been enough for him to get wins over mediocre talent. Tor Troen from Tough. Brian Houston had a competitive fight with Ed Herman, not using his wrestling, but that fight was entirely a brawl on the feet. But then against the better guys, Talis Leites and even Cal Magalhaes, who's not a top talent in that division, they just destroyed him, and also Derek Brunson. Yeah. Did he fight Derek Brunson? I think so. Derek Brunson. No, I'm sorry. I was thinking about someone else. And then apparently has a win over Dan Miller in his last fight, which I'm completely blanking on. So never mind that. Did not fight Brunson, but got knocked out almost identically by Magalhaes and Leites. So I don't think on the feet he could really compete with anyone who has some moderate ability there. At welterweight, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Zach Cummings. Great matchup, hot fight. Really love this. And I have to take Cummings, and I'm taking him pretty comfortably. And I love Ponzinibbio. The guy's a very dangerous striker, aggressive, but never really leaves himself too vulnerable going for the kill. He remains pretty defensive and composed, as he's really chasing the knockout. And a good combination striker. But Zach Cummings, while he's probably not as much of a combination striker, not as fluid, I would say, as Ponzinibbio, he definitely probably has just as much power. You could see that in his fight against Dominique Steele, and even just coming off of his win over Nicholas Dalby, showed that he can very comfortably and soundly outbox a technical striker. But why I think Cummings really has the advantage in this fight is because he is solid everywhere, and Ponzinibbio has shown a weakness, being able to be out-wrestled. Ryan LaFleur pretty much hit the takedown whenever he needed it in that fight. Court McGee, even like I mentioned earlier, he got off to a strong start against Ponzinibbio. And I just think Cummings, if he's able to get in the clinch, if he's able to hit takedowns, he's really going to have his way with Ponzinibbio there, who really hasn't shown any of that in the UFC. All of his wins have been have come on the feet, and he's never really mixed in any kind of a wrestling attack. So I think he's pretty one-dimensional, and Cummings took a round off Gunnar Nelson controlling him in the clinch and outboxed him for a round, to get submitted, but still, totally shut down Jan Cabral's jiu-jitsu game. He's really solid everywhere, and then had that great performance against Nicholas Dalby where he beat him on the feet. His punches were damaging, and on the ground he really manhandled Dalby. So I'm taking Cummings here. I don't know by a decision. I'm feeling that if he's able to get him down, he could get a submission. We've seen those skills from him as well too. So I really like Cummings, and he's been improving at a very high rate, fight to fight, and just looking solid everywhere. So I really like Cummings. At middleweight, Thales Leites versus Chris Camozzi. Another really fun matchup. I know a lot of people are feeling Camozzi on this one, but I have to go with Leites. And Camozzi's coming off of what I would say is the best performance of his life against Vitor Miranda. I thought he looked great. Used his length, his jab better than we had ever seen. More volume than we had ever really seen from him. Using the leg trips, hitting takedowns. He looked great in that fight, but I don't see him doing that to Leites. Leites, for one thing, is just a far more dangerous fighter than Camozzi. Camozzi's only finish within the last several years in the UFC was over Joe Riggs a couple fights ago, which finished him very dominantly, but to me that just means almost nothing. I shouldn't tell you that I picked Joe Riggs in that fight, but as embarrassing as that is, but beating Joe Riggs, that just doesn't really prove anything to me. But yeah, Leites I think is just the more dangerous striker. A better combination striker, I think, than Camozzi. Not as technical if Camozzi's able to establish that jab, use his length. I think he is. I think he will be longer and taller. Then I could see him, outpointing Leites, who does have a tendency to be too hesitant, sit back too much, like he did against Bisping. And every time he came forward against Bisping, Bisping's head was, flopping all around. His eyes were rolling around every time Leites drove him back into the fence and, grazed him with some haymakers. But then in the middle of the cage, just didn't do anything and let Bisping chip away at him. So I could see him being too hesitant, laying back, and Camozzi scoring points and winning rounds, getting the decision. But yeah, I think Leites is the more dangerous striker, and he hasn't really finished top competition. But Francis Carmont and even Tim Boach, I would say those guys are about the level of Camozzi. And then the biggest thing on the ground, Camozzi struggled there in his career. The Bruno Santos fight just got smothered on the ground. And then obviously against Jacare, just had nothing for him. And, not comparing Jacare to Leites, but Leites is a talented control and submission guy. Had that nice submission over Boach. And he was tagged by Boach in that fight, but Camozzi, again, just has never really been a dangerous fighter. I don't think has the lethality to hurt Leites. So I think Leites can get him to the ground, control him, and then on the feet might eat some jabs for a bit, but when he comes forward, I think he can blitz Camozzi and land some big combinations, drive him back into the fence, throw some big haymakers. I like Leites here. to win a decision. And I think he's just a much higher level fighter than the guys Camozzi has been fighting. You know, Riggs and Natal, not bad guys, but you know, Tom Watson, but pretty mediocre guys. And I think Leites is closer to the top 10 of the division than those guys are. All right, featherweight, Dennis Bermudez versus Honey Jason. I think this one's pretty cut and dry. Bermudez should just out-wrestle him. I should have watched Bermudez's fight with Kawijiri before doing this. I don't remember it too well, to be honest, which doesn't look good, but, you know, I don't remember it. Bermudez just has to, you know, watch out for the submission. Honey Jason can hit a triangle off of his back. Seen that a couple of times against Damon Jackson and way early in his career against was it Mike Wilkinson, I think, where Honey Jason even pulled guard. So Bermudez has to be careful of that, and he also has to be careful of not getting knocked out. I think it's just kind of the secret's out. Bermudez can't strike. I mean, Lamas dropped him with a jab. Stevens, after he was able to get past the wrestling, just dominated him on the feet. So I don't think Bermudez can get caught up in a striking battle here, but if he just sticks to the wrestling, I don't see why he can't control Jason for 3 rounds, nullify the submission game, just lay in his guard if that's what he has to do. But, you know, wins over Clay Guida and Kawijiri, far more experienced guys, and probably just more ability overall than a guy like Honey Jason. You know, I think he could out-grapple him, but really watch out for that striking. You know, Honey Jason has shown big power. He's deceptively powerful. Steven Seiler knockout. Sam Sicilia knockout where he was very technical and really found the openings very well in that fight. So I'd say if you want to bet on a dog, Honey Jason might not be too bad, but if Bermudez is smart, even though he's had some setbacks, I think he should be able to get this one. So I'm taking Bermudez. I'm taking Bermudez by decision. Yeah, and also in that Jackson fight before Jason hit the triangle, he was having a lot of success hitting the takedowns and getting some ground and pound off. So Bermudez with a similar style, I think, again, just avoid the submission. He can get the decision. And then the main event at featherweight, Yair Rodriguez versus Alex Caceres. Like I said, I think it's an entertaining fight. I really don't mind this for a fight night headliner. I love Yair Rodriguez, and I think his opponent, like I said, I think it's going to be a fun fight, entertaining, but I think it's a completely one-sided matchup. Rodriguez should just walk over him. And Caceres, he has gotten a lot better, I think. I mean, it was still only 2 fights ago, or 3 fights ago now, that he just got creamed by Francisco Rivera in the first round. Just ate a head kick that put him out cold, which does not look good. And obviously, Rodriguez, not only a better striker, but just probably more dangerous and more unorthodox in every way than Francisco Rivera. He could do something like that too, but it's also all the other parts of his game. Caceres, against a lot of those Japanese fighters he fought, had really close competitive fights, and who was the guy that beat him? Masanori Kanehara was just able to kind of walk him down, close the distance with punches, and then get in on his legs and drag him down. With Rodriguez's ever developing wrestling game. I think he could really expose Caceres there with the wrestling. I think he could submit him on the ground. Rodriguez is just getting very, very good everywhere. His wrestling is improving really well. He has submissions, and then again on the feet, I don't think Caceres is going to be as easy to hit as some of those other guys, Feely and Dan Hooker, Charles. I'm blanking on the guy's name, but Caceres has more dynamic movement. A little more elusive than those guys, but I still think eventually Rodriguez is going to be able to time him, figure him out, and Rodriguez is as unorthodox and as unpredictable as they come. I really think this guy will contend for a title one day, not too far from now. And the Cole Miller fight, I think that was Caceres' best performance of his UFC career. But outstriking Cole Miller and doing that to Rodriguez are totally different things. Rodriguez did hit, or Caceres did hit takedowns in that fight, but mostly came off of catching kicks. Cole Miller running right into him. He's not going to be doing that to Rodriguez at all. And for all of his dynamic movement, his unorthodox stance and all of that, there's not much behind that to back it up from Caceres. There's not a technical striking game. It's not even really a dangerous striking game. There's just kind of he can strike a little bit, but not much behind that. And I think Rodriguez does have the power and can land all of those super unorthodox moves, and they can be they often are very dangerous. So I like Rodriguez to get a TKO either second or third round here, and I don't think the fight is really going to be competitive at all. I like Rodriguez to dominate in every facet, so I'm going to take him, like I said, TKO second or third round. Those are my predictions for UFC Salt Lake City. Thank you for watching, guys. Again, sorry for the delay, and I promise I'll be better. I'll get videos out for Fox and 202 out this weekend. That'll give you, I think, 2 weeks for 202 and 3 for Fox. And then I'll try to do that video to update you guys on my pick'em ranking. But thank you for all the support. My Twitter is really starting to pick up. I'll leave my link in the description. Come follow me on Twitter. I live tweet during fights. Thank you guys. Take care, and I'll see you next time.